In the dead of night, a merciless storm bore down on a small boat, carrying a group of 60 people seeking refuge from persecution. The once tranquil sea transformed into a raging tempest, its furious waves threatening to swallow the tiny vessel whole. This was not the freedom they had envisioned when they set off on their journey. Far from the comforts of home, they were now at the mercy of nature's unpredictable wrath. In the belly of the storm, chaos ensued. The boat, their only lifeline, shuddered and groaned under the onslaught of the furious tempest. The once rhythmic hum of the engine turned into a dreadful silence, signaling the breakdown of their only source of power. They were stranded, at the mercy of the raging elements. Fear filled the air, thick and suffocating. The howling wind was a cruel symphony, punctuated by the terrified cries of the group. Children clung to their parents, their innocent eyes wide with terror. The elderly whispered prayers into the storm, their trembling hands clasping onto anything that provided a semblance of stability. The younger ones, though equally frightened, tried their best to maintain a facade of calm, their minds racing for solutions to survive the storm. With each passing minute, the storm intensified, pushing them further into the heart of the tempest. The once familiar stars were shrouded by the ominous clouds, leaving them in a world of darkness and despair. The compass spun wildly, the storm's fury rendering it useless. Their intended course, a beacon of hope, was now a distant memory. The storm was relentless, its fury unabated. But amidst the chaos, a glimmer of human spirit emerged. They banded together, their survival instincts kicking in. They worked in unison, bailing out the water that threatened to sink their vessel, their hands raw and blistered. The storm may have taken their course, but it could not break their spirit. As the storm subsided, a chilling realization dawned on the group. They had drifted far off their intended course. They were lost at sea, their destination unknown. But they were alive, and in the face of adversity, that was their victory. The storm's fury had tested them, and they had survived. With the storm now behind them, the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean lay ahead, a relentless reminder of their predicament. The storm had been a force of nature, unpredictable and wild, but now they faced an enemy just as formidable, only this one was silent. The Pacific Ocean, in all its grandeur and mystery, was a vast wilderness of water, stretching out in all directions, its horizon a blurry line where the sky met the sea. The group of 60, men, women, and children, looked out at the endless blue, their hearts heavy with a growing sense of desperation. They had set out with a mission, braving the unknown for a chance at freedom, but now they found themselves drifting aimlessly into the Pacific, far off course from their intended destination. The boat, their only lifeline, was at the mercy of the ocean currents. It bobbed and swayed, a tiny speck in the vastness of the sea. The boat's engineer had broken down, leaving them without any means to control their direction. They were adrift, lost in the immensity of the Pacific Ocean, their fate now left to the whims of nature. They had trained for 20 days, preparing themselves for a 2-day journey. But nothing could have prepared them for this. The isolation, the uncertainty, the gnawing fear that grew with each passing hour. They were but a speck in the ocean, a tiny island of humanity in a sea of nothingness. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the water, the enormity of their situation began to sink in. The once bustling boat was now eerily silent, the only sound the gentle lapping of the waves against the hull. They were alone, adrift in the Pacific, with dwindling supplies and no land in sight. With dwindling supplies and no land in sight, the harsh reality of survival at sea began to set in. The storm had passed, but their ordeal was far from over. As the night fell, they huddled together, their faces etched with worry, their eyes reflecting the flickering stars above, a poignant reminder of their dire predicament. Dehydration and starvation, two formidable foes, began to tighten their grip on the boat's passengers. The initial adrenaline of survival had worn thin, replaced by the gnawing emptiness of hunger and the parched dryness of thirst. The once abundant provisions, taken for granted in the comfort of their homes, had dwindled down to a meager ration, barely enough to keep a child satisfied, let alone 60 people. The group, a melting pot of ages and experiences, faced the grim reality of their situation. The youngest, barely out of their teens, were forced to grow up overnight, while the oldest, with wisdom etched on their faces, found themselves helpless against the cruel, unyielding sea. Their bodies began to betray them, weakened by the lack of sustenance and the relentless heat of the sun. In the face of such adversity, they clung to the last vestiges of their resources. A solitary can of beans, a few slices of bread, a handful of dried fruit. Each item was rationed with meticulous care, shared equally among the passengers. Sips of water, precious as gold, were meted out sparingly, each drop a lifeline in the vast, unforgiving ocean. Yet, even as their bellies ached with hunger and their tongues stuck to the roofs of their mouths, they refused to succumb to despair. They reminisced about hearty meals back home, laughed at the absurdity of craving a simple glass of water, and promised each other extravagant feasts once they reached safety. These shared moments of camaraderie, of human connection, were their most potent weapon against the creeping dread of their situation. But as the days stretched on, the laughter began to fade. The conversations grew quieter, the smiles more strained. The optimism that had buoyed them was being eroded by the harsh reality of their circumstances. As days turned into a week, despair began to claw at their hope. Yet even in the face of such daunting odds, they held on, united in their will to survive, to endure, to live. Day after day, their struggle against hunger and dehydration continued, pushing them to the brink of despair. As the days turned into a blur, the gnawing pangs of hunger became a constant companion. The human body can survive about 3 weeks without food, but this group of 60, ranging from the old to the young, was rapidly approaching that limit. Dehydration, however, was a more immediate and grave concern. A human can only survive around 3 to 5 days without water. The sun beat down mercilessly, its heat intensifying their thirst. Lips cracked, skin parched, and strength waned with each passing hour. The vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean taunted them with its undrinkable water. The isolation of the open sea began to weigh heavily on their minds. The constant uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, the desperation, it all began to take a toll. Mentally, the group was stretched thin. Each sunrise and sunset only served as a cruel reminder of their predicament. Starvation and dehydration aren't just physical conditions. They gnaw at the mind, eroding hope, breeding despair. The human spirit, however, is resilient. It clings to life, it fights, and in their darkest hours, this group found their strength in unity. They shared stories, sang songs, and clung to each other for warmth during the cold nights. Yet, as their bodies weakened, so too did their spirits. The relentless grip of starvation was closing in. They had to make a choice, succumb to despair, or fight with everything they had left. And so, they chose to fight. But how does one fight when the enemy is not a tangible foe, but rather the absence of the basic necessities of life? In the face of despair, they turned to the one thing they had left: faith. They prayed, not for a miracle, but for the strength to endure another day, another hour, another minute. Their faith became their sustenance, their beacon of hope in the unending sea of despair. Desperate for a miracle, they raised their voices in prayer, pleading for a storm to provide them with fresh water. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, far from the safety of land and the comfort of civilization, 60 souls found themselves at the mercy of nature. They were adrift, lost, and in dire need of a lifeline. Their resources were dwindling, their spirits were sinking, and their bodies were slowly succumbing to the unforgiving conditions. Yet they held on, united in their desperation and bound by their shared struggle. You see, hope, no matter how faint, can be a powerful force. It can give you the strength to endure, to fight, to believe. And so, they clung to it. They clung to hope and they prayed. They prayed collectively, fervently, their voices rising in a chorus of pleas and supplications. They prayed for relief, for a miracle, for a storm. Yes, a storm. A storm that could bring them the one thing they needed most: water. The irony was not lost on them. They had been at the mercy of a storm not too long ago, a storm that had left them adrift in this vast ocean. But now, they were praying for another storm, not one of destruction, but one of salvation. And then, as if the heavens had heard their pleas, the sky darkened, the winds picked up, and the first droplets of rain began to fall. It started as a drizzle, then a downpour, then a deluge. It was a storm that they had prayed for. They collected the rainwater, each drop a lifeline, each drop a beacon of hope. It was a miracle, a testament to the power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit. Their prayers had been answered. Their prayers had been answered, renewing their faith and hope. With renewed hope, they prayed for food. What they didn't expect, however, was the form their answer would take. In the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, where the horizons meet and the world seems to end, Their plea for nourishment was heard, but the answer didn't come from the heavens above, from a storm bringing forth a bounty of fish, or a sudden appearance of a merchant ship laden with supplies. No, the answer came in a form that initially struck terror in their hearts: pirates. These were men known for their ruthlessness, their disregard for the sanctity of life. They were the predators of the sea, feared and loathed. As they boarded the beleaguered boat, the group's hearts sank, believing their end was near. But as the pirates surveyed the scene, their eyes fell upon the gaunt faces, the hollow eyes, the despair etched in every line of the group's faces. They saw not the prosperous individuals they expected to rob, but a group of desperate souls clinging to life, their spirits flickering like a candle in a storm. In that moment, something unexpected happened. The pirates, notorious for their hardened hearts, experienced a change. Their eyes softened, their harsh expressions melted into looks of sympathy. They were no longer the predators, but became the unexpected saviors. From their own supplies, the pirates offered 3 days' worth of food and water. It wasn't a feast, but to the starving group, it was manna from heaven. It was sustenance. It was life. It was a glimmer of hope in the darkness that had enveloped them for so long. The group watched in disbelief as the pirates retreated, leaving behind not a scene of devastation, but a spark of hope. Their prayers had been answered, not in the way they had expected, but in a way that reminded them that even in the direst of circumstances, humanity could shine through. In the most unlikely of circumstances, aid had arrived. With hope to sustain them, they once again turned to prayer as their supplies ran low. After the unexpected kindness shown by the pirates, the group found themselves once more on the precipice of despair, their provisions dwindling with each passing hour. Day after day, they huddled together, their hearts heavy with fear and their bodies weakened by hunger. Yet it was their collective will that held them together, their shared belief in the power of prayer that kept them from surrendering to their dire circumstances. As the sun set on the 15th day, they whispered their prayers into the wind, their pleas for sustenance carried across the vast, indifferent ocean. They asked for strength, for courage, for another miracle to see them through their ordeal. Their voices, though weak, resonated with an unwavering faith, a testament to their indomitable spirit. And then, as if in response to their collective plea, the silhouette of a familiar vessel appeared on the horizon. The pirates had returned. Their hearts pounded in their chests as the pirates boarded their boat. Would they be as merciful as before? Or had their luck finally run out? But once again, the unexpected happened. The pirates, moved by their plight, offered them another day's worth of provisions. One more day of hope. One more day of survival. Their prayers had been heard. Their faith, tested in the harshest of conditions, had not been in vain. The pirates had become their unlikely benefactors, their cruel predicament softened by acts of unexpected compassion. Against all odds, their prayers had been answered, not once, but twice. The human spirit, when bolstered by faith and hope, proves to be a formidable force. Even in the face of despair, it finds a way to endure, to survive, to thrive. This was the lesson learned by the 60 souls adrift on the merciless sea, their survival a testament to the miraculous power of faith, hope, and the inherent goodness that resides, often hidden, within us all. On the brink of death from hunger and disease, they prayed fervently for survival. The group's situation had grown dire. They were teetering on the edge of existence, their bodies frail, their spirits exhausted. Yet, within their hearts, a glimmer of hope flickered, refusing to be extinguished. The collective strength of their faith became the lifeline they clung to in the vast, unrelenting ocean. Emaciated bodies spoke volumes of their ordeal, each wrinkle, every hollow cheek a testament to their struggle. The young and the old alike were united in their struggle, their faces etched with the harsh lessons of survival. But in the face of death, they found an indomitable spirit. Their prayers echoed across the silent expanse of the sea, reaching out into the infinite for a lifeline. As the sun dipped below the horizon on the 19th day, a speck of hope appeared on the horizon. A fisherman's boat, seemingly insignificant amidst the vast ocean, but to the group, it was a beacon of salvation. The fisherman, taken aback by their desperate state, did not hesitate to lend his aid. Their prayers, it seemed, had been heard. As the fisherman's boat drew closer, it was as if the heavens themselves were reaching out to them. The group, on the verge of surrendering to the sea's merciless grip, found a new surge of energy. They had endured, they had survived, and now they were being rescued. With the fishermen's boat came a flood of relief. Their desperate cries for help were finally answered. As the boat pulled them closer to safety, the group could hardly believe their ordeal was nearing its end. Their prayers had been answered, their faith rewarded. In their darkest hour, help arrived, towing them to safety and marking the end of their 20-day ordeal at sea. Despite all odds, they had survived. Their journey, a testament to the power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit, was a story of survival against all odds. Their ordeal at sea was not just a survival story, but a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the power of faith, and the unexpected ways in which help can arrive. 60 souls, through 20 days of relentless trials, had navigated their way through the stormy seas of despair, hope, and miracles. Their journey, fraught with trepidation and uncertainty, had tested their mettle in ways they could never have fathomed. The storm's fury had been their first adversary, a tempestuous beast that engulfed their small vessel, setting the stage for a harrowing journey. The relentless waves had tossed them into the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, far from their intended destination, far from the safety of land. As food and water dwindled, desperation set in. The vast ocean seemed to mirror their despair, a vast expanse of nothingness. Yet it was in this abyss of hopelessness that they found the strength to fight back. Hunger and dehydration held them in a vice grip, yet they held on, their will to survive stronger than the gnawing emptiness in their stomachs. Their prayers for relief were answered in the most unexpected of ways. A storm, once their adversary, became their savior, quenching their thirst with its life-giving water. Then, when starvation loomed, they found aid from the unlikeliest of sources. Pirates, who initially boarded their boat with ill intentions, turned into their benefactors, providing them with much-needed sustenance. Even as supplies dwindled and death seemed imminent, they clung to their faith. Miracles came not once, but twice. Pirates returned, offering provisions. And finally, when all seemed lost, a fisherman's boat appeared on the horizon, a beacon of hope in their darkest hour. They were pulled back from the brink of death, these survivors of an epic journey. Their ordeal had not been in vain. Far from it. Their journey had shaped them, tempered their spirits, and proved that the human will to survive is a force to be reckoned with. Rescued and brought to the shores of Thailand, they carried with them an experience that transcended the physical. Their story was not just about survival, it was about resilience, faith, and the unexpected ways in which help can arrive. It was about the strength of the human spirit, the power of faith, and the unyielding belief in the goodness of others. In the face of unimaginable adversity, they had survived. Their story serves as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of faith and the strength of the human spirit.